Okay, so we're going to continue now with the draw for the Connacht Gold Senior Football Championship Round 3. Now, there are a couple of things I'm supposed to point out in this here. We will be doing this very slowly and very methodically because of the fact that there are just 8 teams in the draw. So the number of combinations, if you like, and repeat pairings is quite complicated. And we have to keep an eye on that as we go through it. But I suppose just in its simplistic format, because it is effectively, so to speak, an open draw, all 8 teams are being placed in the bag again. And the first 4 home teams will be drawn out into order 1, 2, 3, and 4. Our games 1, 2, 3, and 4. Vincy is placing the balls in the bag here beside me of the 8 teams. And that the drawing these 4 teams is the simplest part of the draw. It's at that stage that we have to really slow it down. So we will start off with the drawing of the first home team in round 3.
Ballinamore, Sean O'Hestons.
Ballinamore, Sean O'Hestons. Okay, second ball.
Ahwillan.
Ahwillan. Third team.
Fianna St. Helens.
Fianna St. Helens. And finally, the fourth home team.
Leitrim Gales.
Leitrim Gales. So just to verify that the 4 home teams in round 3 are Ballinamore, Sean O'Hestons, Ahwillan, Fianna St. Helens, and Leitrim Gales. So just to verify, I suppose, with you that the 4 remaining teams in the draw are Glencairn Manor Hamilton, Mohill, Melvin Gales, and St. Mary's Kiltahart. So this is where we have to be extremely careful in terms of concluding the draw so that we have a draw that will A, be valid in this round, but more importantly, I suppose, or as importantly, be valid in round 4, given the various permutations. This could come out as a 3-1 repeat of the previous draws, or a home and away, or a 2-2, or could come out, in fact, the same, but it's already done and dusted. Vincy, have you any idea on the breakdown of the home away in that particular?
Just one more to do.
3-1. 3-1. I have 3-1 verification. So now the next opponent we've drawn out of the bag, which would be one of either Glencairn Manor Hamilton, Melvin Gales, St. Mary's Kiltahart, or Mohill. But when we look at who Ballinamore have already played, they've already played Mohill, and they have already played Glencairn Manor Hamilton. So what we were identifying here is that Ballinamore, Sean O'Hestons has only 2 possible opponents in the draw, Melvin Gales or St. Mary's Kiltahart. Ahwillan, as it stands, have already played Fianna St. Helens and Melvin Gales. So they have 3 options, Glencairn Manor, Mohill, and St. Mary's Kiltahart. Fianna St. Helens have already played Ahwillan and St. Mary's Kiltahart, and therefore they have 3 options. And Leitrim Gales have played Melvin Gales and Mohill. So they have only 2 options, that being Glencairn Manor Hamilton and St. Mary's Kiltahart. So we'll draw the first ball, the 5th ball, I should say, and deal with that as it comes. We will be pausing to find its resting place, so to speak, and then assess the knock-on effect of that for the remainder of the draw. So without any further ado, let's draw team number 5.
Glencairn Manor.
Glencairn Manor versus Ballinamore, Sean O'Hestons, but Glencairn Manor have already played Ballinamore, Sean O'Hestons, so they by default would move down to the next slot, which is Ahwillan, which is a possible draw for them. So that was, what was that?
Ahwillan would play
Glencairn Manor Hamilton, yeah, of course, yeah.
Okay, so just give it a moment.
So now we have Ahwillan versus Glencairn Manor Hamilton. Ballinamore have already played Mohill, and Glencar Manor, who are already there. So they still have two possible options, that being St. Mary's and Leitrim Gales, and so on. So Fina have played Aughawillan and St. Mary's Kiltahart, and they have two options still. So we can draw the next one.
Leitrim Gales only one option.
Leitrim Gales have only one option remaining in the draw because Leitrim Gales have already played Melvin Gales and Mohill. So by default, Leitrim Gales can only play the remaining team that's left in the draw for them, which is St. Mary's Kiltahart. So we plot in St. Mary's Kiltahart into that slot. I hope that's clear to everybody. And we look at the remaining draws. The Melvin Gales and Mohill are both remaining in the draw. Ballinamore have played Mohill already. So by default, almost literally, Ballinamore have to play Melvin Gales. Would that be correct? I think I'm right in that. So Ballinamore have to play Melvin Gales, and there's only one team left in the draw then remaining for Fina St. Callans, which is Mohill. So just to recap on this draw for round 3 of the Connacht Bowl Senior Football Championship, and I hope that has been clear to everybody who's been watching it. Ballinamore will play Melvin Gales, Aughawillan will play Glencar Manor Hamilton, Fina St. Callans will play Mohill, and Leitrim Gales will play St. Mary's Kiltahart. So that concludes the draw for the Senior Football Championship round 3. We will proceed behind the scenes, obviously, to ensure that it verifies that each of the teams will have an opponent available to them in round 4. But we won't assume anything, but that is the draw as it stands, and we're pretty confident it is the situation. So, Garmina Malgav Belair.